Before you clicked on this message, God had already whispered something into your spirit. And it was not loud. It was not dramatic. It did not shake the walls or split the sky. It was quiet, personal, direct. And the words were clear. Keep this between you and me. If you felt a stirring when you heard that, if something inside your chest tightened as though heaven itself brushed against your soul, then this is not a coincidence. This is confirmation. Because there are moments in life when God does not speak to the crowd, He speaks to the chosen listener. And today, that listener is you. There are revelations that are meant for public declaration, and there are revelations that are meant for private preservation. The world has trained you to announce everything, to post everything, to broadcast every blessing before it has even fully formed. But God moves differently. When God plants a seed in the soil, He does not command the seed to shout about the harvest. He commands it to go underground, to stay hidden, to grow in silence. Because what is protected in secrecy is strengthened in power. You have been wondering why the urge to explain yourself has faded, why the need to defend your calling has grown quiet, why the desire to prove your future to doubters has weakened. It is because God is teaching you the discipline of divine confidentiality. Not every vision is meant for discussion. Not every promise is meant for exposure. Some promises are sacred, and sacred things must be guarded. There are people around you who would clap for your success, but curse your process. They would celebrate your arrival, but criticize your preparation. And God, in His wisdom, has decided to shield you from premature interference. Because when you expose a fragile vision to an unprepared ear, you invite doubt into a space that requires faith. And doubt is poison to destiny. God said, keep this between you and me, because He is building something that cannot survive unnecessary commentary. The early stages of a miracle are delicate. The early stages of transformation are invisible. The early stages of elevation look like isolation. And if you speak too soon, you risk allowing external voices to contaminate internal conviction. Listen carefully. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. God is not hiding you to punish you. He is hiding you to prepare you. When a sculptor shapes a masterpiece, the stone does not understand the hammer. When gold is purified, it does not understand the fire. But both processes are necessary, and neither process is public entertainment. You have been in a season where God has been dealing with you privately, correcting you, strengthening you, refining your character. And the reason it feels intense is because intimacy with God is intense. When God speaks closely, He speaks clearly. And when He speaks clearly, excuses die. There are people who cannot handle what God is about to do in your life because they are still attached to the version of you that struggled. They are comfortable with your limitations. They are familiar with your weaknesses. But God is not invested in your past identity. He is invested in your divine assignment. And when God assigns you to a greater dimension, He does not ask for public approval. Understand this deeply. The less you announce, the more God can accomplish without interference. When you stop seeking validation, you make space for revelation. When you stop explaining your steps, you allow God to order them. And when you stop proving yourself to people, you start proving your obedience to God. There are blessings that are delayed because they were declared too soon. There are breakthroughs that were postponed because they were exposed too early. Timing matters. Silence protects timing, and obedience unlocks timing. God said, keep this between you and me, because He is cultivating trust. Trust is not built in noise. It is built in quiet obedience. When you choose not to share what God told you, you are saying, I value your voice more than their opinion. And that decision alone shifts heaven in your favor. The world measures strength by how loud you are. God measures strength by how faithful you are in silence. Anyone can speak. Few can guard a revelation. Anyone can announce a plan. Few can protect it until it matures. And maturity is what God is forming in you. There is power in being misunderstood. There is power in being underestimated. Because while others are forming assumptions, God is forming advancement. While others are doubting your direction, God is designing your elevation. And the beauty of it is this: they will not see it coming. Secrecy with God is not isolation from people. It is elevation above distraction. It is the discipline of protecting what is sacred. When God entrusts you with something confidential, it means He considers you capable of carrying it. You have cried in private. You have prayed in private. You have wrestled with fear in private. And God has seen it all. Nothing has been wasted. Every tear has been counted. Every silent prayer has been recorded. And every moment of obedience is building momentum in the unseen realm. There are seasons when God allows applause. And there are seasons when He demands discretion. This is a season of discretion because what He is shaping in you is too powerful to be mishandled by careless conversation. You may feel alone in this process. You may feel like no one understands the shift happening inside you, but that is the point. Not everyone is meant to understand it. If everyone understood it, it would not be divine. God is separating you from noise. Not because you are better than others, but because you are becoming better than your old self. Growth requires space. Revelation requires stillness. And transformation requires privacy. There is a difference between secrecy rooted in fear and secrecy rooted in faith. Fear hides because it doubts. Faith hides because it trusts. And what God is asking of you is not fear-driven silence. It is faith-driven restraint. You do not need to explain why you have changed. You do not need to justify why your priorities have shifted. You do not need to convince anyone of what God is doing. Your responsibility is not persuasion. Your responsibility is obedience. There is a reason you feel a holy hesitation when you're about to reveal something personal. There is a reason your spirit tightens when you consider sharing a vision prematurely. That is not anxiety, that is divine caution. God is training your discernment. He is teaching you that not every ear deserves access to your future. Not every hand deserves access to your blueprint. And not every friend deserves access to your confidential conversation with heaven. The closer you get to purpose, the quieter you must become. Because purpose attracts opposition, and opposition feeds on information. When you reduce information, you reduce interference. Some people have mistaken your silence for weakness. Let them. Some have interpreted your privacy as insecurity. Let them. What they call weakness, God calls wisdom. What they call secrecy, God calls stewardship. When the time is right, God will make it undeniable. You will not have to argue for recognition. You will not have to chase validation. You will not have to beg for acknowledgement. What God establishes cannot be ignored. Until then, protect what He has spoken. Guard the promise. Nourish it with prayer. Strengthen it with obedience. And keep it between you and God. Because the day is coming when what was hidden will be revealed. What was silent will speak. What was unseen will stand visible. And when that moment arrives, it will not be because you announced it. It will be because God ordained it. There are moments when God does not increase your visibility. He increases your depth. And depth is developed where eyes cannot see. The ocean surface may sparkle under the sun, but its true power is in its hidden currents. In the same way, God is not impressed by surface level noise. He is shaping undercurrents inside you, convictions that cannot be shaken, discipline that cannot be distracted, faith that does not collapse when applause disappears. When God says, keep this between you and me, He is not limiting you, He is fortifying you. Some of you are in a season where God is whispering strategies that do not make sense to the logical mind. He is adjusting your direction quietly. He is instructing you to step back when you want to step forward. He is telling you to wait when everything in you wants to announce. And this is where obedience becomes sacred. Because obedience is not proven when it is easy. Obedience is proven when it costs you recognition. You must understand that God does not reveal everything at once. He unfolds purpose in layers. If He showed you the entire plan, you would either run ahead in pride or retreat in fear. So He gives you enough light for the next step and keeps the rest in divine reserve. That is why it must remain between you and God. The more you trust the portion revealed, the more He entrusts you with. H, what is concealed? There is a discipline in divine restraint. The ability to know something powerful and not speak it prematurely is a sign of spiritual maturity. Anyone can carry information. Few can carry revelation. Information entertains, revelation transforms, and transformation must be protected while it is forming. Some of you have been tempted to share what God told you because you crave confirmation from people. You want someone to nod in agreement. You want someone to validate that you are not imagining this shift. But God is teaching you to find confirmation in His presence alone. When His peace settles in your heart, that is your confirmation. When your spirit feels anchored despite uncertainty, that is your confirmation. You do not need human applause when you have divine assurance. The reason God is keeping this private is because He is building your dependence on Him. If you could rely on constant encouragement from others, you would never learn to stand firm in solitary faith. There are battles that must be fought in the unseen realm before they are won in the visible one. And God is strengthening you for battles that cannot be broadcast. Do not underestimate what is happening in silence. While others are distracted by external events, God is aligning internal structures within you. He is rearranging your priorities. He is refining your motives. He is purifying your intentions, because elevation without purification leads to destruction. And God is not interested in giving you something that will crush you later. When God instructs you to keep something confidential, it is because the enemy of your destiny thrives on premature exposure. The unseen hour, resistance you face does not need details. It only needs opportunity. And silence denies it opportunity. Silence is not passive. Silence is protective. There is a difference between hiding out of fear and hiding under divine instruction. Fear isolates you from growth. Divine instruction isolates you for growth. Fear shrinks you. Divine instruction strengthens you. Learn to discern the difference. When the silence is accompanied by peace, it is God. When the silence is accompanied by panic, it is insecurity. And God does not operate in panic. You are being trained to carry weight, and weight requires stability. The greater the calling, the stronger the foundation must be. Foundations are not glamorous, they are not celebrated, but without them, nothing stands. God is building your foundation so deeply that when the structure rises, it will not collapse under pressure. Some of you have felt frustration because doors have not opened publicly. But what you do not see is that God has closed certain doors intentionally to preserve your privacy during preparation. If some opportunities had opened too early, they would have exposed you before you were ready. And exposure without preparation leads to embarrassment. God protects you from premature promotion. There is also another layer to this command. When God says, keep this between you and me, He is inviting you into intimacy. Intimacy is not loud. It is not performed. It is not displayed for admiration. It is personal, sacred, direct. God is not just preparing you for a task. He is drawing you closer to His presence, and presence is the greatest reward. Do not reduce your relationship with God to public moments of inspira. Shion. The true power is in private communion. The true strength is built when no one else knows what you are praying about. The true transformation happens when your character is shaped in secret. The world is addicted to visibility, but God is attracted to humility. When you can carry something extraordinary without announcing it, you demonstrate humility, and humility attracts favor. Pride seeks attention. Humility seeks alignment, and alignment with God is more valuable than attention from the world. You are not being overlooked, you are being overshadowed by divine covering. There is a difference. Overlooked means forgotten. Overshadowed means protected. God has not forgotten you. He has placed you under His instruction for a reason. Sometimes God will allow people to misunderstand you so that you are not tempted to depend on their approval. If everyone understood your next move, you might rely on their encouragement more than on God's direction. So He allows a measure of misunderstanding to keep your focus vertical instead of horizontal. You may feel the tension of carrying something significant that you cannot yet explain. That tension is not punishment, it is preparation. It stretches your faith. It expands your patience. It strengthens your endurance. And endurance builds character that cannot be easily shaken. There are promises that grow stronger when they are watered with silence. Every time you choose not to overshare, you are watering that promise with trust. Every time you resist the urge to prove yourself, you are strengthening your spiritual muscles. God is shaping you into someone who can handle influence without losing integrity. Influence without integrity destroys lives, but influence rooted in obedience changes destinies. And obedience is formed when you honor what God says, even when no one else hears it. This season is teaching you to listen more than you speak, to observe more than you announce, to pray more than you publicize, because the louder the external noise, the harder it is to hear divine instruction. Silence sharpens sensitivity. There will come a time when what is hidden will be revealed in a way that leaves no doubt. But revelation without foundation is unstable. So God builds the foundation first. He reinforces your mind. He disciplines your habits. He corrects your attitude. He reshapes your desires. And He does it quietly. Do not despise this quiet season. It is sacred ground. It is the workshop of God. It is where your weaknesses are confronted and your strengths are refined. It is where your fears are exposed and your faith is strengthened. When the moment of unveiling comes, you will not be scrambling for readiness. You will not be overwhelmed by responsibility. You will not be shaken by criticism, because you will know that everything you carry was developed in private with God. Until then, guard your heart, guard your mouth, guard the instructions you have received. Let your obedience speak louder than your announcements. Let your discipline speak louder than your declarations. Let your trust speak louder than your doubts. And when the urge rises to reveal what God told you, pause and remember the whisper. Keep this between you and me. That whisper is not restriction. It is invitation. It is the voice of a God who sees the end from the beginning, who understands the weight of your say, Aling, and who is committed to shaping you into someone capable of carrying it without collapsing. Remain steady, remain faithful, remain aligned. What God is building in you cannot be rushed, cannot be stolen, and cannot be stopped when the appointed time arrives. There is another dimension to this command that you must not overlook. When God says, keep this between you and me, He is not only protecting the promise, He is protecting you from pride. Because when God begins to reveal future elevation, the human heart can become intoxicated with anticipation. It can start to walk ahead of obedience. It can start to speak as though the work is already complete. But God resists arrogance before it is even born. So He wraps the revelation in secrecy to preserve your humility. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking correctly about who gave you the vision. It is recognizing that the idea did not originate in your intelligence. The opportunity did not come from your connections, and the favor did not rise from your effort alone. Everything begins and ends with God. And when you keep the revelation between you and Him, you are acknowledging the source. There are seasons when God intentionally reduces your audience so He can refine your appetite. If your motivation is applause, you will struggle in private. But if your motivation is obedience, you will flourish in hidden places. God is purifying your motives. He is asking you silently, if no one ever claps, will you still trust me? If no one understands, will you still move when I speak? This is where spiritual depth is born. Depth is formed when you choose loyalty to God over loyalty to public opinion. Depth is formed when you remain consistent even when no one is watching. Depth is formed when your character in isolation matches your declarations in inspiration. You must understand that secrecy with God creates spiritual resilience. When you build your confidence on what He has spoken privately, you become unshaken by what others say publicly. Criticism loses its power. Doubt loses its volume. Distraction loses its attraction. Because your foundation is not built on approval. It is built on divine instruction. Some of you are carrying a promise that feels too heavy to explain. You have tried to put it into words, but language fails you. That is because certain revelations are not meant to be translated. They are meant to be trusted. When God gives you something that exceeds explanation, it requires surrender more than discussion. And surrender is not passive. Surrender is active trust. It is waking up each day and choosing obedience over impulse. It is resisting the temptation to control the outcome. It is allowing God to unfold events without forcing your own timeline. God's timing does not bow to your urgency. His wisdom does not submit to your impatience. When He tells you to wait quietly, it is because He sees variables you cannot see. He understands connections you do not yet understand. He is aligning circumstances beyond your current awareness. And premature exposure would disrupt the alignment. There is also a refining fire in secrecy. When you cannot speak about what God has shown you, you are forced to meditate on it. You are forced to pray why over it. You are forced to confront your own doubts without running to external reassurance. And in that process, your faith matures. Faith that depends on constant discussion is fragile, but faith that survives in silence is formidable. It is unbreakable. It is steady. It does not collapse when the wind of uncertainty blows. Some of you have noticed that conversations around you no longer satisfy your spirit. Topics that once entertained you now feel empty. That is not arrogance. That is alignment. God is shifting your appetite. He is elevating your focus. He is calling you into a different frequency of awareness. And not everyone can follow you there. Do not feel guilty for outgrowing certain environments. Growth is not betrayal. It is obedience. When God stretches your capacity, you cannot shrink back to fit into spaces that no longer accommodate your calling. But you do not need to announce your growth. Let your transformation speak for itself in due time. There is strength in restraint. There is power in patience. There is authority in quiet confidence. When you know that God has spoken, you do not need to convince anyone else. Conviction does not shout, it stands. This season is also teaching you stewardship. A revelation is a gift, and every gift must be handled with care. If someone entrusted you with something valuable, you would not expose it recklessly. You would protect it. You would guard it. You would treat it with honor. How much more should you honor what God has spoken? Every time you resist oversharing, you demonstrate reverence. You show that you value what God said enough to protect it. And reverence invites greater clarity. When God sees that, you can handle a small instruction faithfully. He entrusts you with greater responsibility. You may be wondering why the process feels slow, why the unfolding seems gradual, but understand this: speed without structure leads to collapse. God builds with precision. He layers wisdom upon wisdom. He reinforces you from within before He expands you outward. Expansion without internal reinforcement is dangerous. Influence without inner stability is destructive. God cares more about your sustainability than your visibility. He would rather take longer and build you strong than move quickly and leave you fragile. There will be moments when doubt whispers, "What if you imagine this?" That is when you must return to the place where God spoke to you. Return to the peace you felt. Return to the clarity that settled over your heart. Doubt thrives in distance. Faith thrives in remembrance. When you feel tempted to reveal the promise just to relieve the pressure, remind yourself that pressure produces strength. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Character is formed under pressure. Spiritual authority is formed under pressure. And God does not waste pressure. He is also teaching you discernment about who has access to your inner world. Not everyone deserves access to your sacred space. Access is a privilege, not a right. When God invites you into confidentiality, He is showing you how to value boundaries. Boundaries are not walls of isolation. They are gates of wisdom. They protect what is valuable. They ensure that what is forming inside you is not trampled by carelessness. You are not called to live suspiciously, but you are called to live wisely. Wisdom listens before speaking. Wisdom evaluates before revealing. Wisdom waits for the right moment. And wisdom is a gift from God to those who seek Him sincerely. As you continue in this season, you will notice something powerful happening within you. Your dependence on noise will decrease. Your hunger for quiet communion will increase. You will find strength in stillness. You will find clarity in calmness. You will discover that the loudest breakthroughs often begin in the quietest prayers. God is training you to hear Him without distraction. He is sharpening your spiritual sensitivity. And the more sensitive you become to His voice, the less you will crave validation from others. There is a coming moment when what you have guarded will manifest with undeniable clarity. But when that moment arrives, it will not inflate your ego. It will deepen your gratitude, because you will remember the nights of silence. You will remember the restraint. You will remember the obedience when no one else knew. And that memory will keep you grounded. Until that day, keep walking steadily. Keep listening closely. Keep trusting deeply. Do not rush the unveiling. Do not force the exposure. What God ordains cannot be prevented. What He prepares cannot be destroyed. What He promises cannot be revoked by human doubt. You are in a sacred season, a confidential chapter, a divine collaboration between your obedience and God's wisdom. Treat it with honor. Treat it with patience. Treat it with unwavering trust. Because when God says, keep this between you and me, He is not limiting your future. He is securing it. There is also a testing hidden within this instruction. When God says, keep this between you and me, He is watching how you handle sacred weight. Because before He entrusts you with visible authority, He entrusts you with invisible responsibility. Many desire the platform, but few are faithful with the private instruction. Many want the outcome, but few are disciplined in the process. And God always examines the heart before He expands the territory. What you are carrying right now is not just information about your future. It is a mirror reflecting your maturity. Can you hold a promise without boasting? Can you receive insight without becoming inflated? Can you walk in anticipation without announcing every detail? These questions are not accusations. They are invitations to grow. God refines His chosen ones in hidden places, not because He delights in secrecy for its own sake, but because secrecy purifies intention. When no one knows what you are preparing for, your only motivation must be devotion. When no one understands your shift, your only anchor must be trust. And trust that survives isolation becomes unbreakable. There's something powerful about the discipline of silence in a noisy generation. The world competes for attention. It shouts, it boasts, it performs. But God moves in a different rhythm. His guidance often arrives in stillness. His clarity often emerges in reflection. His power often manifests after patient obedience. If you align with the world's urgency, you will miss divine timing. But if you align with God's pace, you will step into divine precision. Some of you feel a holy tension between where you are and what God revealed. That tension is not contradiction, it is construction. God is building the bridge between your present condition and your promised expansion. Bridges are not built in a single day. They are measured, reinforced, inspected. And the weight they will carry determines the strength they must possess. Do not mistake delay for denial. Delay often means development. When God slows you down, He is strengthening your capacity. If the fulfillment arrived at the first hint of desire, you would not have the endurance to sustain it. So He stretches you. He disciplines you. He increases your resilience. And all of this is happening while the revelation remains confidential. There is another layer you must grasp. Secrecy sharpens spiritual hearing. When you are not distracted by explaining your journey to others, you are more attentive to God's subtle adjustments. He may refine your direction slightly. He may alter your approach. He may deepen your understanding. And those refinements require focus. If you had already declared the plan publicly, pride might prevent you from adjusting it. But when it remains between you and God, you are free to follow His correction without embarrassment. You are flexible. You are teachable. You are responsive. And that responsiveness is strength. God is also teaching you restraint in emotion. It is easy to speak when you are excited. It is easy to announce when you feel inspired. But emotional impulses are not always aligned with divine timing. Wisdom filters enthusiasm through patience. It tempers excitement with discipline. It recognizes that not every surge of joy requires immediate expression. You are being trained to govern your spirit. Self-control is not suppression. It is mastery. It is the ability to feel deeply yet act wisely. It is the capacity to carry anticipation without losing composure. And composure rooted in trust is a sign of deep spiritual authority. There are individuals who would misunderstand what God has spoken to you because they measure everything by their own limitations. If you expose the vision too soon, they may project their fear onto your faith. They may speak doubt into your confidence. And though you are strong, unnecessary resistance drains energy meant for preparation. God shields you from that interference. He knows which voices are constructive and which are corrosive. He knows which conversations would uplift you and which would burden you. So when He instructs you to keep it between you and Him, He's filtering your environment for your sake. You must also understand that private obedience produces public impact. The unseen discipline of today becomes the visible breakthrough of tomorrow. The quiet faithfulness in small matters becomes the foundation for greater responsibility. God does not overlook hidden effort. He records it. He multiplies it. He rewards it at the appointed time. There is dignity in waiting. There is honor in restraint. There is strength in trusting God's calendar over your own. When impatience rises, remind yourself that the one who spoke the promise is not bound by time. He orchestrates moments with precision. He aligns circumstances beyond your vision. He moves pieces you cannot see. Sometimes God keeps a revelation private because it is intertwined with other people's timing. He may be preparing someone else to meet you at the right moment. He may be arranging connections that will support the fulfillment. If you rush ahead and expose the plan, you might disrupt the alignment He is crafting in unseen places. This is not about fear. It is about faith. It is not about shrinking back. It is about stepping forward with discipline. It is not about hiding your light. It is about allowing God to determine when and how it shines. There will be moments when silence feels heavy. You may wish you could share the excitement with someone who understands. In those moments, return to gratitude. Thank God that He trusted you enough to reveal what He did. Thank Him that you are close enough to hear His whisper. Gratitude transforms burden into privilege. Remember that intimacy with God is not common. Many hear about Him, few hear from Him. If He has spoken something personal into your spirit, treat it as sacred treasure. Do not handle it casually. Do not expose it carelessly. Guard it with reverence. As you guard it, you will notice something remarkable. Your confidence will grow without external validation. Your assurance will deepen without public endorsement. You will walk differently, speak differently, think differently. Not because you are trying to appear elevated, but because something within you has settled. That settlement is trust. Trust that God is faithful. Trust that His wisdom surpasses yours. Trust that His protection is intentional. Trust that when the time comes, He will make what was hidden evident without you forcing it. There is coming a season when those who underestimated your silence will recognize its strength. They will see the fruit of your restraint. They will witness the stability of your foundation. And they will understand that what appeared quiet was actually powerful, but even then, remain humble. Remember the secret conversations. Remember the nights of prayer. Remember the discipline of obedience when no one else knew. Let remembrance protect you from pride. You are not alone in this hidden chapter. God is present in every unseen step. He is guiding your thoughts. He is steadying your emotions. He is fortifying your spirit. The confidentiality is not distance, it is closeness. So continue to guard what He has given you. Continue to refine your character. Continue to align your actions with His instruction. Continue to trust when clarity seems partial. The promise is not fading in silence, it is maturing. When the appointed moment arrives, it will not feel rushed. It will not feel chaotic. It will feel aligned. It will feel steady. It will feel right. Because everything that was cultivated in private will support what is manifested in public. Until then, embrace the sacredness of this season. Honor the whisper. Protect the revelation. Walk with discipline. Stand with humility. Trust with unwavering conviction, and let your loyalty to God in secrecy become the foundation of your strength in visibility. So now you understand this was never about secrecy for the sake of silence. This was about sacred trust from the very beginning. When that whisper reached your spirit, keep this between you and me. It was not a restriction. It was an invitation into a deeper walk with God, an invitation into maturity, an invitation into discipline, an invitation into a level of intimacy that not everyone is willing to carry. Everything you have felt in this season, the isolation, the quiet adjustments, the internal stretching, the unseen battles, the unspoken anticipation has been part of a divine formation. God has been shaping you where no one could interfere, strengthening you where no one could distract, correcting you where no one could influence the process. This was construction, not abandonment. This was preparation, not delay. You were not hidden because you were unworthy. You were hidden because you were chosen for weight, and weight requires depth. God does not pour greatness into shallow foundations. He deepens you before He elevates you. He disciplines you before He displays you. He fortifies your character before He fulfills the promise. Now you see why the silence mattered. It protected your humility. It refined your motives. It strengthened your faith. It sharpened your discernment. It detached you from dependence on applause and anchored you in dependence on God alone. You've been learning to walk by conviction, not commentary, by obedience, not validation, by trust, not visibility. And this is the final truth you must carry in your heart. What God ordains in private will manifest in power at the appointed time. You will not need to force it. You will not need to announce it. You will not need to defend it. When God unveils what He has been building, it will speak for itself. But even when that moment comes, do not forget the sacred quiet. Do not forget the nights when only God knew your struggle. Do not forget the restraint you practiced. Do not forget the humility you learned. Let the memory of secrecy keep your heart aligned when visibility increases. Because the greatest reward was never just the outcome. The greatest reward was closeness with God. The greatest reward was learning to trust Him without witnesses. The greatest reward was becoming someone who can carry revelation without corruption, influence without arrogance, authority without losing surrender. So stand firm in what He has spoken. Guard what He has entrusted to you. Walk steadily in obedience. Remain humble in anticipation. Remain disciplined in preparation. Remain faithful in silence. The whisper was holy. The process was intentional. The timing is secure. And the one who told you to keep it between you and Him is faithful beyond measure.